Have you ever promised yourself, okay, this time I'm going to stay calm only to just snap in anger? Or maybe you felt that wave of anxiety wash over you right when you were trying to have faith. Well, we're about to dive into a teaching from Jesus that honestly, it cuts against almost everything the world tells us. It's all about this invisible battlefield that is constantly shaping your life. And that battlefield is your own mind.
I mean, we all know this struggle, right? There's this huge gap between our best intentions and what we actually do. We want to be patient, but we get irritated. We want to be disciplined, but we procrastinate. We just keep falling into the same old patterns. And what Jesus taught is that the solution isn't just gritting your teeth and trying harder to control what you do.
No, the answer lies in a place that, honestly, most of us completely overlook. See, Jesus taught that our thoughts, they're not these harmless, private little shadows floating around in our heads. He said they are the seeds of our future. They're like the steering wheel of our entire lives. So the real battle, it's not out there. It's in here.
So let's explore this idea of an invisible battlefield. Because according to Jesus, your mind is exactly that. It's where the real fight happens.
And this really highlights a huge contrast, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got the world's lie. Hey, your thoughts are private, they're harmless. As long as you don't act on it, who cares? But then you have Jesus' truth, which is so much more profound. No, your thoughts are the actual seeds of your future. They are the blueprint for your entire life. They're not just harmless, they're formative. Okay, to really get this, we've got to go a little deeper. We need to understand the source of our actions, what Jesus called the hidden root. Now, listen to this quote from Jesus in Matthew. He says, "For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, and so on." Did you catch the order there? He doesn't start with murder. He starts with evil thoughts. Then come all the destructive actions. That tells you everything. Every single destructive act has an origin point, and that origin point is a thought. And this, right here, is why so many of our efforts to change just fail. We spend all our energy focusing on the fruit, the anger, the worry, the bad habits, but we completely ignore the root, which are the thought patterns that are producing all that bad fruit in the first place. It's like trying to kill the fruit without ever touching the root. Jesus taught that if you want to change the fruit, you have got to deal with the root. And check this out, Jesus completely raised the standard from just outward actions to our inner intentions. The old law said, hey, don't commit the physical act of murder. But Jesus went deeper and said, don't even harbor anger in your heart. The old law said, don't commit adultery. Jesus said, don't even entertain lust in your mind. Now you might hear that and think, wow, that's impossible. But this wasn't to make life harder, it was actually to protect us. He was showing us how to stop sin at the source, before it ever becomes a destructive action.
Okay, so if our mind is a battlefield, what are our weapons? How do we actually fight this fight? Well, for that, let's look at the ultimate example, Jesus himself.
So let's look at this case study, the temptation of Jesus in the wilderness. This is so important. When Jesus was at his weakest, the devil didn't show up with a sword. The attack wasn't physical. He attacked with suggestions, with ideas. It was a battle of thoughts. And right here, we see the two opposing weapons in the spiritual battle. The enemy's weapon is doubt. He comes with that little word, if you are the Son of God. He's trying to get Jesus to question his identity. But the weapon Jesus uses is absolute truth. He doesn't argue, he doesn't get emotional. He just responds with the ultimate authority. It is written. We can actually break down his method into 3 really practical steps that you and I can use. First, he answered immediately. He didn't let that lie linger or take root in his mind. Second, he spoke the truth. He used the authority of his own spoken words to silence that inner lie. And third, he used a specific verse. He countered the specific lie with a specific, relevant truth. It was precision. All right, this leads us to a really crucial principle, one that's so often overlooked. It's this: you cannot leave a mental vacuum. It's not enough to just stop bad thoughts. You have to replace them with something else. Jesus actually told a pretty scary parable to illustrate this danger. He talked about an unclean spirit that leaves a man. So far, so good, right? The man cleans his house, that is, his mind. It's all swept clean. But here's the key: he leaves it empty. So when that spirit comes back and finds this nice, clean, empty house, it goes and gets 7 of its even more wicked friends, and they all move in. And Jesus says the man's final state is way worse than it was at the beginning. The lesson is so clear. Just emptying your mind of bad stuff without filling it with God's truth leaves you wide open for something worse to come in.
So this is what we call the principle of replacement. Think about it. You don't fight a thought with nothing. You fight a thought with a better thought. You replace the lie with the truth. You don't fight darkness by scooping out of a room, you just turn on the light. And when you fill your mind with truth, there's simply no room left for the lies.
So what's the result of all this? What happens when you really start practicing this, guarding your mind and replacing lies with truth? Well, the outcome is something the entire world is desperately searching for: true peace.
And this is a direct promise from Jesus. He said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you." And then he says this, "not as the world gives." See, the world's peace is basically just the absence of problems. But the peace Jesus gives is totally different. It's a supernatural peace that literally stands guard over your heart and your mind, even when you're in the middle of total chaos.
So what does that actually look like in real life? Well, it means that your problems no longer have you. You're not their prisoner. It means waking up without that immediate wave of anxiety hitting you. It means you can face an insult without your mind instantly racing, trying to figure out how to get revenge. You can navigate a crisis with a mind that's full of faith, not panic. Your mind becomes anchored, even when the storm is raging all around you.
So let's bring this all home. The battle for your life, for your peace, for your destiny, it is won or lost right between your ears. It happens in your mind. And listen, I know that can sound like a huge, overwhelming task, but the journey doesn't start with mastering every single thought. It starts with just one.
So here's the takeaway. It all starts right now, with the very next thought that comes into your head, whether it's an anxious thought, a bitter thought, or a fearful one. The question I want to leave you with is this: what one thought will you choose to take captive and replace with truth today?